it's like, all right, well, is the farm actually the best place? He seems to think they'll be safe in the house. And the weird thing is, in the next episode, we see all the zombies storm the farm, and I know that they weren't allowed to go on the porch or in the house or anywhere there because the owners of the house in real life were religious and said, you can use our place, but you can't have any zombies in the house. So I think my guess is that what the writers would have preferred is to show them crawling through the windows and that the house was not a safe place, but we couldn't do that. So that's sort of kind of like, well, they weren't really prepared. Like maybe the farm wasn't the best place. It had food, but it wasn't well fortified, or secure, I guess is the word.
Interesting.
It's interesting how natural defenses play a role. So the city I live in now has city walls. It's one of a few medieval cities in the UK that have them. But there's this bit where the walls stop, and it's now like a fucking retail park with like a supermarket and like a bike shop in it. The reason that the walls aren't complete is because prior to the city being built up, there was like a swamp there, so they didn't need to have a wall because nobody could really come in through the swamp. But now it just looks absolutely crazy. You're like, why did you stop these beautiful medieval walls so that we could go to the supermarket? Like, I don't understand it. But yeah, natural defenses, not to be underappreciated, I think.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Right. So now if you have any random notes left over, we just go through those. Do you have any more here?
I do. I have one. Just more of a question, a quandary, if you will. If you can take out any vitriol you have for Shane, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it were reversed and he killed Rick and Shane lived, do you believe, in all honesty, that Lori and Carl would have died when they did?
It's so we've talked about this a little bit before, and it's so hard to know.
I think Lori was always going to die in childbirth in this show because they make a point of saying she had to have a C-section with Carl, and if she's had to have a C-section once, delivering naturally would have been difficult. And although they're prepping for a C-section, the reality of doing one in the zombie apocalypse with no medical support system there, I think is unlikely. I don't know. It's like a butterfly effect thing, isn't it? I think there's a rational argument for no, they wouldn't have, but they may have died sooner. Like, do you know what I mean? It wouldn't have been exactly the same. I do think they were setting up Laurie to have childbirth be her demise, largely because in the comics, Judith and Laurie die at the same time. They're both shot, and I don't think they were ever going to show that on the show. Like, I remember at the time being like, they're not going to kill a baby, right? That's dark.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But just hypothetically, independently of what like the writers would have wanted, just with these characters, I think the point of having Laurie separated from everybody in the jail against her will was to make it so that she could have actually had the pregnancy successfully if they had been together. Otherwise, they could have just had her die in pregnancy and not bothered with the separation.
Yeah.
So that's what I think they were going for there. But then the question becomes, okay, if Shane was there, then would he have been able to prevent that? And I can't remember the exact specifics. It was the prisoners. One of them was letting zombies in secretly
because Rick banished him.
Yeah, and so maybe, that's right. So maybe
I guess
Shane would have
shot that guy. Yeah.
So maybe they would have survived. Maybe she would have survived.
That's all I'm saying. I think they would have had a better chance.
But then Shane was I really just think he's so emotionally unstable that he wouldn't have been able to hold it together for
They're all long. Though. Like every one of them is emotionally unstable in some manner.
He's a hothead.
He is, sure.
For those at home, Aaron just dropped the mic.
Yep, that was good. I like it. All right, Lucy, any notes?
Yeah, a couple bits. What have I got? Rick and Daryl plan a trip to Sonoy. In this episode, they talk about dropping up near Sonoy, and I've written Daryl might open a restaurant while he's there.
Called Nick and Norman's for some reason.
Yeah, who knew? Rick thanks Daryl, and Daryl says, ain't no reason you should do all the heavy lifting, and he basically says, I can't see us trading haymakers by the side of the road. I also like that Daryl takes a tactical piss when like Rick's real boyfriend turns up. He's like, I'll take the piss.
A tactical piss. I gotta write
a tactical piss. He's like, I'm not gonna leave now.
It's good to have in your arsenal.
I think it was IMDb. I do have some IMDb facts for this episode. They pointed out that in Rick's last episode, Daryl and Rick do actually trade haymakers by the side of the road because Rick is trying to get back to stop Maggie going after Negan. And I was like, that's some incidental foreshadowing there. That is all of my notes, I think. But I think Shane also gets a little bit jealous of Daryl. He's like, well, if you want Daryl to be your wingman. And I'm like, these guys.
Replaced best friend. I'm just replaced all over the place.
I know, he's just like, I gotta have my baby, I gotta have my woman, I gotta have my friend. I'm like, oh.
That was the last straw. When he took Daryl out, it's like, I'm going to kill that fucker.
Yeah, he's like, fuck you, man.
So I only had a couple. At Dale's eulogy, Rick says Dale wasn't afraid to say exactly what he thought. And I'm like, who is? They all pretty much say exactly what they think all the time.
Yeah.
Those eulogies are always hysterical because I'm like, I don't even remember this character you're talking about. Like, that just feels like you're just being way too nice.
But to be fair, he did say something like he could get on our nerves or something like that.
Yeah.
But I do laugh because, like, Aaron, we do this thing where I'm keeping an eye on the timeline. Rick's only been awake for 23 days and he's talking about Dale like he's known him for, like, his life. He's like, the thing about Dale was, I'm like, you knew him 3 weeks, mate. But I guess, it's
like
the
when
apocalypse.
People go on Survivor together and they just go through something, you know?
Yeah, they went through a thing. I'll allow it. But it is funny when you put it in that context of, like, what a 3 weeks it has been for Mr. Grimes.
Carl has a science dog t-shirt on, which is a character in the comic Invincible that Robert Kirkman
That's
made.
funny. That's
amazing show as well, Invincible.
Yeah,
yes.
Good show. Yeah.
And then I guess that's all I had.
In terms of the timeline, as mentioned, we're 23 days from Rick's wake up, so it's been a while. It does make me think, baby's definitely not his. IMDb dive. Jeffrey DeMunn came to watch this episode filming. He made a surprise visit.
And Bernthal was really stoked about that.
Yeah, I bet Bernthal was. Oh, like genuinely, that wasn't sarcasm.
No, he was. Yeah.
That's really nice.
He was happy because it was kind of Shane's, final thing. So that's why DeMunn came back from New York to watch it.
That's cool.
We talk about this on the podcast a lot, but we've mentioned Sonoy. So Sonoy is where most of the seasons of The Walking Dead are filmed. Settings filmed in Sonoy include Woodbury, parts of Terminus, Alexandria, and more. And as Jason mentioned, it's also the home to Nick and Norman's restaurant, which is opened by Norman Reedus, Daryl, and Greg Nicotero. Shane in the comics is actually killed by Carl at the end of the first graphic novel, Days Gone By. He never makes it beyond... Yep, he's shot and he never makes it beyond the first camp. Michael Zegan, who played Randall, considered going from human to zombie to be the full Walking Dead experience. However, the contacts they made him wear burned his eyes so badly they had to be removed. So his zombie eye effects were actually CGI.
His eyes were removed, just to be clear.
His eyes. Michael Zegan actually doesn't have eyes anymore.
I thought it said. I'm like, that's extreme.
So that's great. In Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, it's all CGI. This episode is the first time... CGI. This episode is the first time in the TV series where Carl directly kills a walker. In the comic, Sophia is still alive and Dale dies later in the series. Shane is shot by Carl and is buried before he's put down, and later Rick will return to his grave to kill zombie Shane.
In the comic.
The zombie noises made by Michael Zegan are apparently based on the noises gremlins make. I'll need to go back and re-listen to that. Rick using a knife to kill Shane is foreshadowed in 18 Miles Out when Rick says, guns quick, but there are other ways to do this. The manner in which Rick kills Shane is very similar to how Rick gets the better of Negan. He lures him in close and lulls him into complacency with talking before cutting him with an extremely sharp object.
Sly.
I'm going to start adding facts to IMDb because, like, some of these are amazing. The ones that are just like, there's a zombie in this episode. I'm like, I could write that. It would be great. But yeah, good crop this week.
Nice. So we'll move to
Only on The Walking Dead.
Only on The Walking Dead. You got one, Aaron?
Oh, I do. So only on The Walking Dead do you have characters that are yelling at each other, they're screaming at each other, there's an emotional moment, there's stabbing, there's pain, there's a breakdown of just body parts and life. Someone dies, there's more crying, there's wailing, and then one gunshot goes off and a horde starts trampling. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Only on The Walking Dead would someone refuse to go to bed with Lauren Cohen.
Good call. Yeah.
Lucy, we need to save yours for last every week because
Oh.
it's always the best. Mine is only on The Walking Dead. Do you need to kill your murderous best friend twice to make sure you get the job done?
Obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens.
The people it kills get up and kill.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is a Walking Dead Cast news update.
All right, just a few quick ones. AMC announced that The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, will premiere on Sunday, September 29th. So they had it
end of summer.
They had it as summer, but that's, actually in the fall, early fall. So they
I'm
lied.
excited for that. I love Carol.
I love Carol, and I
Yeah.
like the Daryl series quite a lot. It was really
I'm
fun.
excited.
Do
I'm
you
gonna
guys
brush
like
up on the French.
Do you guys like that they're doing that now instead of having a series proper, so to speak? That they're doing these little limited series events.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of nice. I feel like it keeps my enthusiasm. It's nice to have little things to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah, and they've been pretty good. And
Mhm.
and it's nice to focus in on some characters, and have different styles. So, it would be nice if they could get back together for an Avengers style finale at the end, but I'm digging
An
it
Avengers
pretty well.
style finale. Love it.
Endgame.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the Lance Hornsby prequel series. They've not gotten back to me about my proposal. They said it was too erotic to film. So there you go.
Keep trying.
Keep trying.
You should call his agent and see if you can just
I should.
do it yourself.
Erotic
and-
fiction, like what? 50 Shades of Grr.
50 Shades of Tweed.
Nice.
AMC's Instagram had a quick behind the scenes production video for Dead City that was kind of fun. JDM and Lauren Cohan giving funny looks and laughing. And they just said it will air in 2025. So not this year. So kind of surprised not to see any Dead City in 2024, but there you go.
Yeah.
I like that show quite. Even though I still will never get past Negan and Maggie in working together in any capacity whatsoever,
Yeah.
but I still like that show.
All right. Next, Jeffrey Wright, who played, this is some Last of Us news, Bernard in Westworld and Watu the Watcher in What If, among other things, has been
Ooh.
cast to play the character Isaac in The Last of Us Season 2, which is super cool because he did the voice of Isaac in the game.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So
We
that'd be cool.
went on a YouTube deep dive today. When you start clicking, like some algorithms got like all my info now, and like probably I'm on the dark web or something.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
did you ever watch the SNL skit about it was Pedro Pascal and it was about making Mario Kart into a gritty
Yes.
HBO drama?
Yes.
It's so good.
So funny. I'd rewatched it today and I was howling. It's like Yoshi being like, I'm bisexual. I was just like, it's so good. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's very entertaining.
And then watch the one where he's coming out of a coma, because that's the absolute
my
best. And I was like, oh my God. And last, HBO, this is not the greatest news. HBO announced that The Last of Us Season 2, which is supposed to premiere sometime next year, hopefully early, will have 7 episodes, so one less than Season 1.
Okay.
And Craig Mazin said they did that because it felt like the right place to break for the story. And he said one of those episodes will be, quote, quite big in length. And he also said a potential Season 3 would be, quote, significantly larger, and that there could very well be a Season 4 behind that. So it sounds like Season 2 a little shorter, Season 3 longer.
I trust Craig Mazin.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, if he thinks that's a good place to
Yes.
stop, then okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Either of you played the game, or do you know the story of the game?
I love the game.
Jason
Yeah.
has, I have not.
Well, then you know as well as I do. If you played the game,
No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay,
No. But there's definitely a time gap, number one, between game 1 and 2. So
Yes.
you've got a lot of time you could fill in there, and there's just a lot more story that will, where it takes place in the game could easily take place before we get to the major beats of that game.
Yes. Yeah, I have a suspicion of where it's going to end, where Season 1 is going to end.
Me too.
But and I hope, I don't know if they are, but that they're working on the third game so that they can keep the series going and
I hope so too.
do the third game, but we'll see. All right, so let's move on to listener moans, groans, and grunts.
Renee Murray starts with good riddance, toodaloo. Well, that's just...
She's talking about Shane there.
I know what she's talking about. I'm saying it to Dale. How about that?
Maybe that's what she meant.
Alicia Stout says, Shane was a great character. I mean, you love to hate him, and you're glad to see him go, but looking back, you wish he was still here. Merrill was another one like this. ... Ooh, hinting at things to come.
I don't know about Merle, but I'm with you on Shane. Merle was one where I'm like, yeah, you can kill him. I'm done with him.
I liked him in season 3.
Yeah.
But here's a challenge for everyone. Think of someone in your life that you feel that way about. All right. Val Leroy says, I've just listened to the
Great.
podcast.
I already have a name in my head. Thanks.
Val Leroy says, I've just listened to the podcast for this episode, and I wanted to thank Lucy for the way she articulated her point of view, which is also my point of view in the discussion about Rick saying she's my wife. I also think it's great Jason asked what could be changed in the discussion to make it better. Thank you, Val.
Thanks, Val.
Well, I haven't heard that episode, so can you give me some context?
Yeah, there's more messages about it, but it was when Rick and Shane were out, and Rick talked to Shane saying, you know, hey, you need to step off. Basically, it's my wife, it's my son. And we had Rennie on as a guest, and she said that was an example of possessive patriarchy. And I thought that even though Rick does have some of that going on, that in that instance, it was totally reasonable of him to say, she's my wife, like not in a possessive way, but just like, it's not your wife, it's my wife. Sure. So we had to talk about that.
Yes, and I tried to do my best to represent what I think Rennie was saying, along with some of my own thoughts on it. But I will say, I didn't prepare for that discussion, and listening back to it, there are some things I probably would have articulated a little differently. But yeah, it's nice that people have been able to write in, and I like that people are complimentary of our civil discussion, and it's good that Jason edited out all the swearing. No, I'm joking.
That's funny. Okay, Shonda Wright. I appreciate Jason Kabasi's point of view on the my wife turn of phrase. I think both sides make valid points and have given me something to think about. Most importantly, I think it was an excellent representation of how to engage in civil discourse. I am appreciative to you both for that. Wow.
Civil discourse and excellent editing. I was literally just thinking, neither of us made a Borat joke in that whole discussion. What were we thinking?
I know. Well, luckily we had Aaron here, so.
Excellent. So I've got Ijapan Baphomet Samara Wikrama.
Wow. Hey.
Wow. I'm so sorry if I didn't.
I think you just conjured a demon.
I think you nailed it.
I think I did. Yeah. My cat's looking at me real weird now. They say the series up to this point set it up as Shane being adapted to the new world versus Rick still clinging to the old one. And by forcing Rick to kill him, Shane dragged Rick into the new world. I really can't fault Rick for anything he did. He gave Shane so many chances. Yeah. It does feel that way.
Thanks, man. Veronica Hood said, Rick yelling, "This was you, not me, not me," as he stabs Shane. It really gets me. He's been forced to kill his former best friend in essentially self-defense. And as he's just pulled the knife, from Shane's body, he holds his hand to try to comfort him as he dies.
Oh,
No wonder Rick really unhinges after this point, especially after how Lori reacts next episode. I haven't watched that in so long. Rick faces a lot of terrifying challenges in the days and years to come, but being betrayed and almost killed by his best friend before having to stab him to death is pretty fucking chilling. Yeah.
Self-defense is a stretch, though. I'm just going to say, like, it.
Yeah.
I think he could have him in hug mode if he doesn't pull that knife at that moment, but.
Maybe.
They were making.
I mean, they didn't show it, but Shane also had his hand on his knife. So I'm just kidding. All right,
that is my knife. Sorry.
My knife.
I like it. We have a call from Wendy.
Hey, it's Wendy. And I'm talking about the episode Better Angels. I've really been enjoying going back and revisiting these episodes. I'm much more forgiving this time around. I'm not sure what that is, but I don't hate Lori. I don't hate Andrea. I'm really digging all the characters. This episode did feel very soap opera-ish with the whole Lori Shane thing. And I think that was just to set up what happened in the episode. It didn't seem very realistic to me. Lori has flip-flopped 1,000 times, and I think they just needed that little bit of oomph to give that motivation for what Shane tries to do. This is a great episode. Poor little baby Carl. Like, why couldn't he have just said, "Hey, Dad, look behind you," right? But really loving your coverage, appreciating it so much. Thank you for doing it. And I'm looking forward to next week.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks, Wendy.
Wendy's
Where can we
going to
hear
be...
Wendy at the moment? Oh, yep, you got me.
Yeah, I was just going to say she's going to be doing House of the Dragon. Is that what you were going to say?
Ooh. No, I was going to say, I was going to ask, where can we hear Wendy at the moment? And yeah, House of the Dragon.
Yes, she and Rennie and Veronica are all going to be hosting Dragon Cast this season. So they're
that's exciting.
working on an episode right now.
Man, I am just
Nice.
I'm literally right in the middle of rewatching that as we speak. So
I'm excited.
Getting
it's
ready.
exciting. I love Damon.
Yeah, everybody seems to like Damon the best.
I love Damon. Alma Cantres, I hope. This episode really shows how the group has grown in the short time they've been together. It also shows how far they have come along in dealing with walkers. Their badassery is coming along. Honestly, this is one of my fave episodes. Mine too. And as bad as Shane was getting, I was a little sad of his ultimate demise, but mostly for Rick having to kill him. Rick was right. Shane forced him into putting him down. And there, we part ways. And I love Daryl's line, "You mean to tell me Randall got the jump on Shane? He's a $105 soaking wet." And he's not wrong. No, he was not. That was the moment where I think Rick put it together personally. He's like, yeah.
You know, Aaron, I'm totally glad that you have the perspective that you have on Shane, because I am almost positive that many of our listeners probably feel exactly the same as you, but a lot of people just don't write in because they know we don't feel exactly that way, maybe, or whatever the case. I know it's great to have different viewpoints, because then, you know, you connect with more people and they're just like, yeah, you should have this guy on more. I'm sure they're saying.
So I'm not getting banned because of that?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Mike in Brighton, hi Mike, UK listener, says, "Hi Jason and Lucy. Sorry, I've assumed there are many Brightons in the US as well, but I'm going to assume it's the UK one just because, you know, why not?" Mike says, "I'm a couple of episodes behind your rewatch schedule, but my feedback for episode 10, 18 Miles Out, is perhaps more pertinent now. I was going to point to the scene where Rick and Shane explore the drop-off site for Randall. Rick encourages the lone walker to the fence and stabs it with his knife after telling Shane to lower his gun, and says, 'A gun's quick and easy, but there's other ways to do this.' Foreshadowing much? Shane should have seen it coming.
Just saying, it was murder.
Justice for Shane, man."
I mean, if we would have got the autopsy from Daryl instead of the bullet in the head, we would have known.
Rick said, let's call it what it is, murder.
It's true. It's true.
Rachel Teal Edwards says, "Jason, I'm with you on this. From my perspective, we are married and she's my wife. Our statements of fact and interchangeable phrases. Use of possessive language is impossible to avoid when referencing a spouse or a partner, and doesn't automatically mean a person is being toxically possessive. Rick was directly and firmly telling Shane to stay the hell away or there'd be trouble. If my husband was in that position and said the same things, especially after I'd asked him to, I'd be really grateful and swooning like olive oil, ironically."
I hope your husband's keeping up with his spinach, Rachel.
Good.
I will say, when I listened back to last week, the bit where I did say "we are married" was quite dumb, because it is the same thing as saying "she's my wife." But I stand by that he could have used her name and referred to her as a person. But yeah, I heard it re-listening to it, and again, I was on the spot, lads. I was on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's an impulse reaction too, right? I mean, if someone, I would phrase it that way. She's my wife. Back off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get it. I get the other way too, because you are, you know, it takes away agency.
Yeah.
Randy Tatum, Jason, you nailed it. Well, look at you. I guess it won't mean much coming from a male. Well, I'm not the one saying this. I'm just pointing this out. It's Randy Tatum. I guess it won't mean much coming from a male, but there's absolutely no evidence that Rick was talking in a possessive manner in this scene. My wife and I have a completely equal relationship, and she's my wife, just like I'm her husband. Neither of us own one another. I've heard Lucy talk about Peter and call him her partner. Ooh.
Okay.
It's just an identifier. We really shouldn't have to tiptoe around basic language just to avoid sounding like a womanizer in a statement that should have never been seen that way. I get it. People's minds have been transformed to zero in on these kinds of statements, but I agree with you. It certainly does dilute the cause.
But I do think the cause is important, and I when we choose to have conversations like this and versus avoiding them, like a lot of podcasts would, I hope the ultimate result is like, yeah, people saying we have a civil conversation about something where we don't agree, and also not to diminish that there is a problem with toxic masculinity, possessive patriarchy, and all that. And so I don't want to diminish that at all.
I love that you guys have those conversations. How's that?
Oh, thanks.
We're putting the world to rights. But
That's right. You know what? People need to talk more, for sure.
just two white people on a zombie podcast fixing the world.
I tend to step in it
Talking
like
about
that,
our privileges.
and it doesn't always turn out well, but when it does, I feel like it's worth it. All right, here's Steve Brown.
Hello, the cast of us. This is Steve, and this is for The Walking Dead, Season 2, Episode 12, Better Angels. Hey, this sure sounds like a really intense truck ride here. Good eulogy there, Rick, but I don't know about these four. They may seem to have some different ideas, but I know that's not the case with all of them, meaning T-Dog, Andrea, Daryl, and Shane. Oh, so we've already started to see the shift. Now Rick is taking Daryl with him to release Randall, not Shane. Okay, this is a bad idea. Pre-psycho Carl confiding to a totally psycho Shane about his worries. Yeah, not good, kid. Look at that. Glenn respecting Herschel's house. Lori, this is not helping this conversation with Shane. Rick just said Sonoy. Is that a subtle reference to where they're going to be when... Is that Alexandria? Yeah. Wait, was that T-Dog's gun that Daryl had that Rick gave to Carl? And now Randall is changing his tune a little bit. He says they're just a bunch of guys, not families. So maybe Randall is a bad guy. Oh, Shane just broke his neck, I guess. I don't remember what happens here. I know, so we got Glenn and Daryl are together and Shane and Rick are together looking for Randall. Right. This is Randall as a walker. Oh. And Glenn gets a nice from Daryl. So Glenn and Daryl have just figured out what happened with Randall, or at least they haven't said anything yet, but they know. And now Rick is figuring out what happened as well. He's with Shane. Yep. I knew he was just lulling him in, getting him close till he'd get him with his knife. Good for you, Rick. Oh, he's waiting there to see if Shane is going to get up. And the beginning of the speed at which one turns is consistent with how fast the writers need them to turn. Nice shot, Carl. I'm impressed. Of course, that one gunshot is going to be what's going to be the downfall of the farm. Sorry, I hope that's not a big spoiler, but that's a lot of walkers coming their way. Talk to you later.
Damn, Steve. You spoiled the whole thing, man. No, I'm joking.
I hadn't put it together that he was waiting around, Rick was waiting around, but like you mentioned, Aaron, for him to turn. Mm-hmm. Do you think he was just doing that so he could kill him because he just didn't have it in his heart to stab him in the head?
I think he just wanted to kill him one more time for sure. But also, he was waiting because he was going to turn. It was going to turn. That was the whole reason. Yeah.
Lucy Tirado says, Season 2, episodes 12 and 13 are truly some of the best. A lot of this episode is so intense and gut-wrenching, and I loved every stressful minute. We always knew it wasn't going to end well for Shane. I personally was over the moon to see him go, but my heart always breaks for Rick in that moment. But then here comes Carl, who I'm pretty sure was supposed to be in the friggin' house again. This kid comes upon an unimaginable scene having to put down his beloved friend. Gets me every time. Kudos to JB for being an awesome zombie. I do feel bad for Carl, who is kind of the test run kid of the ZA, and his parents just keep irrevocably screwing up. I'm glad he ends up good in the end, but those early days were a tad dicey. All of this madness leads to that closing moment of a horde approaching, our heroes completely unaware that their crazy day was about to turn into a chaotic night. Man, it was good stuff. As always, thanks for the kick-ass coverage. Can't wait for next week.
Thank you. I don't remember if she's ever written in before. It's good.
That's great.
Brad Holt says, as someone who is an unabashed season 2 fan, I've never really understood the criticism of it. So much happens and there's so many shocking moments. This episode is awesome. I will give you that. I really like this episode. The imagery of Rick and Shane in that field with the giant full moon in the back is beautiful and eerie at the same time. Shane made for a terrific foil for Rick this season. As a viewer, you could hate him and also kind of agree with him at the same time. Made for great drama. The deaths of both Randall and Shane gave the viewers a big clue as to what Jenner's secret was. A big clue. And left us with an exciting cliffhanger ending. A perfect penultimate episode. On another note, did anyone else find it amusing that adults were encouraging Carl to keep the gun he stole from Daryl? I mean,
no one asked Carl, no one asked Daryl.
I know. He's going around looking for it. I mean, a Browning, he's like tracking the thief. It's tiny steps.
I think it was a small boy who came in here and he took it at about 12:52 a.m.
I mean, a Browning high-power 9mm is a damn fine firearm. I'm sure Daryl might have had an opinion on that, especially since he was lamenting to T-Dog that he couldn't find it. LOL. Yep. All right, here's Archmaester Rennie.
Oh, thank God. Sorry.
Hello, Jason and Lucy. I wanted to say thank you to...
I already listened to it. I'll just tell you, she said that it totally was wrong, everything you said. Just kidding. Here we go.
Lord.
Lucy for carrying on the possessive patriarchy conversation in the last podcast. And Lucy, I give my seal of approval to everything that you said. And I think that conversation may have been carried even farther forward into this episode in you guys' coverage. But I just want to comment on one thing in this episode that I thought was a really nice piece of editing, which is at the beginning. Rick is talking at Dale's funeral, and in the meantime, Shane, Daryl, Andrea, and T-Dog have gone out to hunt walkers on the farm, and we cross-cut between those two. And Rick says of Dale, at the end, he was talking about us losing our humanity. And while Rick is saying that, what we're actually seeing is Shane, Daryl, Andrea, and T-Dog are putting down walkers. And walkers are humans who have literally lost their humanity. So I thought that was a very clever juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm. And viciously.
All right. Carry on, carry on.
Archmaester has spoken.
Glad you
I think it's a dual impact. It's that, and also the savagery at which they're doing it.
Yes.
Their loss of humanity.
Yeah. Busting that one's brain right open.
Andy Fisher, Dear J and L. Look at that. You're just letters now.
We're like best friends. It's great.
Better Angels is terrific. Everyone looks dirty and grungy and sweaty and gross and authentic and gorgeous. I love that.
Wonderful.
Shane doesn't ease up in this episode. Is he the ultimate Walking Dead villain? Question mark. I'll come back to that. Shane reminds me of assholes at work that try to bully and fuck with you at every opportunity. Good riddance. I guess we're on different pages. The acting is great in this. Well, I do think he's an asshole. Don't get me wrong. The acting is great in this episode too. I think you both are crazy because I still love Lori. Especially, well, that's very sweet. Ridiculous, but sweet. Especially here trying to hold it all together as she deals with panic, fear, overwhelming sadness. I'm going to make words out of this. Uncertainty and guilt. Thank you for the great podcast. My favorite segment of podcast is Only on The Walking Dead. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on season 3. The greatest The Walking Dead season. That should be a question mark, Andy.
Amazing.
I think the season 3 episode 1, the Seed, I think it's called, so good. Remember the opening segment with no dialogue? And I think that's our podcast episode with the highest downloads for some reason. I remember seeing that.
I think that's when I started listening to it. Maybe it was season 4.
Did you download it 10,000 times?
I did. Andrea Maitland says, "Hi Jason and Lucy, I haven't written in since The Ones Who Live, but I've been really enjoying listening to your insights. You guys do such a great job of breaking down the episodes and giving me a totally different perspective. I've been rewatching along most of the time, but both Laurie and Andrea grate on my nerves, and Carl is creepy and bratty, so sometimes I fast forward through scenes they're in since I've already seen it. As for Better Angels, I remember really liking this episode, and I liked it this time as well. There are some really touching moments like Andrea and Glenn. The way she comforts him is actually very sweet, and it was one of the few moments I did like Andrea. Then there's a conversation between Rick and Carl, Rick pointing out the reality of the world Carl has to live in. That scene was so beautifully filmed, the silhouettes and warm colours, really lovely in every way. Then there's Daryl. I was already in love with him by this point, but seeing him work with the group and bond with Rick sealed the deal for me. Now, as for the conversation between Shane and Laurie, I feel that what Laurie said to Shane is what made him go off in the deep end. I don't think she meant for that, but the way it played out in Shane's head made him think he had a chance and led to all the chaos that followed and him wanting to kill Rick. All in all, this episode really stood out for me. I really think it's one of my favourites. Finally, I wanted to go on a little bit of a rant about Daryl's torture of Randall from the week before. While I don't condone any violence or torture and tend to fast forward and not watch if I know it's coming, I have to disagree with Jason about Randall. His tone when he says the story about the girls is depraved. Not only that, but he says, and they didn't even kill them, but in my opinion, I'm sure those girls wish they had died. He is guilty for watching, and maybe he had no choice, but it is despicable in every way. As someone who has been assaulted, I cannot agree that he didn't deserve what he got. I understand it if you edit this, which is why I put it at the end, but I needed to say my piece. Thank you as always for your amazing podcast. Love you guys. Andrea, thank you for disclosing that, and I'm sorry that that happened to you, and I appreciate what you have to say about Randall and the story he tells there. I think you're bang on.
Yeah, me too. In hindsight, I mean, I think it was so stupid that I couldn't believe he would actually be doing that, but he was.
Yeah, I think Randall and his one brain cell have left the planet now. I think we can say the boy was a dum-dum. Like, yes.
Yeah, and a despicable person.
My grandfather used to say a little adage that always stuck with me, which is, those that do nothing are nothing.
Like it. I am glad you wrote in again, Andrea, since the one who live. Hope to hear from you more. And also, I agree with you about Daryl. I hadn't really thought about it consciously, but this is the first. It feels like Daryl from later seasons here, where he's Rick's partner. You know, first time he's really felt like that.
Bye bye, Shane. See you never.
All right, here's Carissa.
Hey, this is Carissa from PDX, and I'm calling about the penultimate episode for The Walking Dead Season 2, Better Angels. Man, I forgot how good this was. A lot of tension. Couple points. Why did Laurie talk to Shane? Why didn't she just leave it alone? I think it made it worse because he was looking like a little puppy dog with his face like, oh, I think she still wants me. So not good. And then I'm really ambivalent about Randall. I feel really bad about how he went out. I don't necessarily blame him for wanting to go back to his group, with Shane trying to trick him. But I don't know. I just think overall he was just a very unlucky young man that stumbled upon a soap opera, to be honest, that got him killed, unfortunately. There was also this really good mini mystery with like Randall being missing and Daryl and Glenn, putting the pieces together when they came upon Randall's walker. And like, I'm just trying to remember how I felt watching that episode. Like, did I piece it together that people turn when they die no matter what? I don't know.
I can't remember
Daryl
either.
and Rick knew Shane was full of shit from the door, especially Daryl. Yeah. I mean, Shane was kind of sloppy too. Like, why did he leave the door locked to the shed? Stupid. You can't even do your shenanigans correctly. And then, poor Shane. Again,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
I feel bad. He was just an entire pile of jelly. He was jealous of Rick and Laurie, jealous of Rick and Daryl. He wanted to be the captain. And when it was clear that Rick wasn't letting him be the captain, he couldn't even be Rick's number one because Daryl was easing into that role, which he literally said, who's your right-hand man or whatever. So, yeah, just overall really good episode. Where did those walkers come from? Like, were they just standing in the woods and then when the gunshot went off, they just came in? Whatever. I hope I have enough time I really loved your guys' conversation last week. My point of view, while marriage was obviously born from a desire to own women, I really don't think Rick was bringing that energy to the conversation. Obviously, Shane was. Um, I just, I just think they were just right at the point where society was falling apart, and I think to expect Rick or anyone to be that thoughtful about how to refer to their partner in a heated argument is just unrealistic.
Yeah.
I just, I didn't get that energy from Rick. Shane was definitely bringing that energy. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. So, love your coverage, of course, as always. Bye.
Thanks, Carissa. In the comic, the zombies are referred to as roamers and lurkers, and there's a lot of lurkers that just stand around until there's some stimulus. So it could be that's where they came from. That, yeah, just like you said, they were just standing around in the woods, and then they heard a noise, and they were like, huh?
Yeah, they didn't hear all the noises before, but that's
the screaming and I mean, you'd think Daryl and Glenn would have heard like, well, Rick, you were my brother, or whatever.
Not to spoil it, but I forgot at the start of the next episode we see how the herd forms, which is really interesting.
Oh yeah.
We follow them. Yeah.
I don't think there's such a thing as spoilers on this rewatch podcast, by the way.
No,
we can talk in detail.
Yeah, you're rewatching
anything.
That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm. But I don't remember. Yeah, I remember they broke through a fence, and was there a plane or something? I forget.
There's a helicopter.
Helicopter, okay.
Which hits different now after the ones you
Yeah,
lived.
it was probably CRM or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Elizabeth Schwartz says, the scene at the windmill with Lori and Shane makes my blood boil. You see what Shane is becoming. You tell Rick he's dangerous. You say he scares you, but you go to him anyway and basically fan the flames. I just can't with her. John Bernthal deserved an Emmy for his portrayal of Shane.
Agreed.
I'm so glad they kept him on the show longer than his comic book counterpart. Me too. He was season 2 for me. R.I.P. Shane. I have a lot to say about this episode, but to keep this from being 3 hours long, I want to answer a question Jason asked in the feedback portion of the last episode. If those who agreed with killing Randall believed in redemption, or if it was only reserved for charming and good-looking guys like Negan. I absolutely believe in redemption. For me, I think Alden and Tara are the best examples, as well as Dwight once he knew his wife was safe. When the opportunity came for them to leave the bad people they were with, they did everything they could to show they were willing to do just that. Randall, on the other hand, knew what his people were doing, saw what happened to the 2 girls, and then when Shane suggested joining his group, Randall happily said, "You'll like it there. It gets crazy, but it's a tough bunch of guys. You'll fit right in," which says to me that he had no qualms about what was going on. I mean, I agree with that, by the way, but we didn't know that about Randall until now, but I totally agree with you. And the way he said it made it seem he even enjoyed his time with them. Perhaps if it had happened later in the timeline with more resources at their disposal, he could have been safely locked in a cell and eventually turned a new leaf. But where they are right now, all they have is a barn and only a couple people. Because of that, he's a huge threat to the safety of the group. And should he get back to his own, and there isn't a surefire way to make sure he doesn't. As far as Negan, I could talk for hours as to whether or not he actually redeemed himself, but again, this would be an even more massive post, so I'll save that for when the time comes. Speaking of the barn, like I was sort of wondering when Rick was having his father-son talk with Carl, if Randall was just sitting down right below them listening to the whole thing, but I didn't realize he was actually in this little shed over to the side. He's like, "Give him the gun."
And you've been to the farm, Jason, Lord.
Yeah, I don't even remember that shed. It's been a while. 14 years or 12 years.
Wow.
Okay, here's a call from Renee.
Hi, Jason and Lucy. This is Renee calling in about The Walking Dead. I just wanted to say, Jason and Lucy, you guys are the bomb. And actually, all of the podcasters on House Podcaster are the bomb. Because you guys start talking about the show, but we end up talking about the issues on the show. Real life issues. And I love that. You guys do not shy away from that. And I'm glad that you all address the fact about sexism and racism. And for as Rick saying, my wife, my child, my unborn child, I do not feel like that Rick was being sexist, because in my phone, I have my husband. I do not have his name. I have him up under my husband, because that's what he is. He's my husband, not my property, but he's my husband. So that's how I have him as my husband. So I feel like that's what Rick was saying. That is my wife. That is my child, my unborn child. And you're going to stay the hell away from them. You're not going to look at them. You're not going to breathe at them. You're going to stay away. And that's what he was supposed to tell Shane, because Shane slept with his wife, which Shane was supposedly Rick's best friend. But I don't understand how a best friend could do that, dead or alive. But hey, that's what Rick chose to do. He chose to stay with her. So he was supposed to address Rick. Now, my husband, he's like Rick, but he would not have shown Shane the grace that Rick showed Shane. He would have beat the shit out of Shane. Probably would have beat the shit out of me too. But hey, guess what? If that would have been my best friend sleeping with my husband, I would have beat the shit out of her too, because the loyalty, like, we're best friends. Like, best friend is not a friend. It's not an acquaintance. A best friend is family. Like, that is family. So I feel like that Rick addressing Shane like that is my family, and you're going to stay away from them. Now, Shane, on the other hand, Shane seemed like he was saying it like that's my property. He was feeling like that's my property, and I don't understand how Shane could feel that way when that was Rick's wife and his child, whatever. But that's how I took it from Shane. Now, Shane was racist. No, not racist. I'm sorry. He was sexist, because he was talking about the lady leaving the light on and all of this and all that crap. Yeah, Shane seemed to be sexist. But Rick, I didn't get that from him, because Rick and Michonne were together. They were married, and Rick would not have been with someone like Michonne because she's so strong-minded. So I just do not see that. Rick being sexist. And I remember Rick telling Maggie that when the war with the saviors were over, he was going to stop following her. So I don't see a man that's sexist, telling a woman something like that. And Rick always said mine, because even on The Ones Who Live, he said that is, you don't get to choose for me. I choose my wife. I choose my daughter. So I feel like that's just what Rick says, because that's mine. That's what it is. Again, my husband, my husband, he's my husband. I don't know no other way to say it. I'm not going to call him by his name, because I don't call him by his name. Even when I'm talking to him, I'm like, husband, come here. Can you come here, please? Husband, I need this. I think that is okay. And I'm like Jason, when we start saying everything is sexist and racist, then it becomes a problem, because when it really is sexist and racist, it tends to get overlooked. And I don't feel like the Herschel was being racist by calling Glenn the little Asian boy, because he didn't know where he was from. So I feel like that he was being respectful. So, that's just my opinion. I respect your opinion, Lucy. I respect your opinion, Jason, but that's my opinion. And do the bug, fly away home. Oh, I thought everyone knew that song. We sung that all our life. Alrighty, bye. Peace and love.
I love that.
I love that, Renee. I'm taken with the idea that your husband is just called husband, though. I'm like, is his name husband? But yeah, no, thank you for writing in. That's super valid, and I really enjoyed listening to what you had to say there.
As always.
She literally convinced me to like Shane a little less, I'll be honest.
Renee, powerful.
Well done. Billy Thompson, it's hard. Well, actually, I do want to say, since you were talking on topics, I do like her best friend analogy, because I have that rule in my own life, the best friend rule, or the friend rule in general, which is you don't cross those streams. I've had the same best friend since I was 5 years old, and that's always
never dated the same person.
Nope. Took it very seriously, so I respect that.
Good.
Billy Thompson, it's hard to feel bad for Shane because it's all his own doing, but when he realizes Rick prefers / trusts Daryl more, you can tell it really hurts him. I'm not sure if Carl would need to have a gun if he wasn't allowed to wander into the situations all the time. Shane says he can't watch him 24/7, but someone from the group should be, preferably his parents. Right? Yes, absolutely. You are correct. When Shane talks to Rick, I think he's right. Rick should be addressing this before starting Randall, but in classic Shane style, he's doing the right thing with the wrong intentions. It's annoying to see Rick is reluctant to talk to Carl, which would be evidence of Lucy's theory that Rick not be able to handle these sorts of issues, but he does speak to him in the end, so maybe it isn't. It's weird to see Daryl miss a shot with a crossbow while fighting zombie Randall, but Glenn really steps up in this moment and doesn't freeze. There's a great, intense scene between Rick and Shane at the end. Rick knows he is dealing with a wild animal at this point and brings out the voice he uses to calm the horse in the pilot. Unfortunately, Shane can't be tamed. Love the music at the end. It sets up an exciting finale. I'll be looking out for you this time, Jason. Thanks, guys. Just a quick one on a topic from last pod. I agree with Jason. I think maybe the way Rick says "my wife" is a bit misleading. Maybe he does put a lot of emphasis on the "my," just like he does in the last exchange with Shane when talking about his kids. He does this because Shane isn't understanding the situation. I don't believe for a second he is saying this because he sees Lori as his property. She had already made a decision that she wants to be Rick's wife, and Rick wants to be her husband. In my opinion, I don't think saying my wife or my husband is a conversation with someone that's trying to break up the relationship when both Rick and Lori have made up their minds is a problem. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned. Sorry, Lucy, please don't hate me.
I could never hate you, Billy. I think it's a totally valid point. I think so much of this is about the context of how Shane views things, and I think you touch on that there. Yeah, so thank you for writing in.
Thanks, Billy. Here's Jenny Ryan.
Oh, hey, Jenny.
Hello, Jenny from Saskatoon here. I want to weigh in on the patriarchy conversation because, of course, I do. So I have to say, I think it's interesting how Rick talks about Lori like my wife, my child, my son, my unborn baby, in a way that does seem possessive, but I think it's less the words and the way he says them and more the context in which they're being said. And I think perhaps that's the trigger point for a lot of us who find it upsetting. Because you're right, Jason, I don't think he's saying it in a particular, like the words themselves aren't necessary to me, not necessarily as offensive as the context in which they're being said. So, for example, I don't really believe that he loves Lori. I think he's doing it out of duty or honor or chivalry, which are themselves perhaps antiquated and old-timey ways of looking at the relationship dynamics. So I think what I bristle at is the fact that he's talking about Lori as a possession, but not because he loves her and needs her and wants her because she makes him better. He's saying it because it's like, she's mine, not yours. Shane, like it's posturing, it's dick swinging, it's, a pissing match. It's all those, charming descriptors. But it's not necessarily him saying, I love her and she loves me and we are a family. I think what you asked Lucy, what Rick could have said that would justify it. And I think he could have said, Lori chose me. She told me I'm the father of this baby. I know technically it's your genetics, but she wants me to be the father. But it's like Lori and Rick are holding on to what they think they're supposed to be doing. So, and I think that's what bothers me, is that it's not about love. It's about, it's a power dynamic. It feels like a power play as opposed to a position of, like, you can't come between us because we love each other so much. Now,
yes,
the reason I feel so confident in saying this is because if you contrast it to Rick and Michonne have a vastly different relationship from what I recall. They seem more like equals. And I think the thing about them is that Michonne and Rick are more like equals. And in fact, when Rick says statements like, she's my wife, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he talks about my wife, getting home to my wife. And there was a lot of debate, like, well, are they even married? But he thinks about her as his wife, but not in a possessive way. We don't think that, like, I don't think we get triggered by those kinds of statements when Rick makes them about Michonne. It's because he's making them because he loves her and he knows she makes him better. She doesn't own him. He doesn't own her. They're equals. And I think that's the difference, is that I don't think Rick ever felt like Lori was his equal. I think that's maybe why it's weird, because I don't think anyone was upset when he talked about Michonne like that, because it wasn't, although I guess he never really said he owned her, but he did talk about, like, my wife. Anyway, okay, I'm not married, so what do I know? But anyway, I've been around a while, and I think if enough people are telling you that it's a problem, then it's a problem. Whether, you know what I mean? So I guess just trust us on this one. It's a problem. Okay, goodbye, friends. I love you. Goodbye.
Oh, I love Jenny.
Goodbye.
Can I make a statement that'll get me booted off this podcast?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Zombies are lame.
All right. This is controversial. I will probably, based on everything I'm hearing about this, but I think in the context of what the quandary is about the whole my wife thing, only really the person and the people involved get to determine if it's a triggering offense or not. Because there are many, while it might be triggering to many women, especially modern women, there are plenty of people in relationships that would not be, that actually like that, especially older couples. My wife's parents are very old fashioned and they very much they see things that way. The whole patriarchy is cool in their mind, where my parents are the complete opposite. My mom was very independent, et cetera. So I really think you have to take that into context. Like some people, that is their relationship. And if they're both parties are comfortable and accepting of it, I don't think you can say that that's offensive to them. That's their life.
You can talk about as a viewer how you react to it.
Absolutely. I'm just saying I think that that kind of gets lost in that conversation.
I was thinking about that too.
Perspective to their lives.
Yeah. And I think, it's a problem. People say it's a problem, but as you can see, there's varied opinions on this, Jenny, and I think it's good to have a debate about it, and it's all in good faith. And so it's good to talk about it. And I think there's a lot of people who think things are a problem that I don't. Like people think gay marriage is a problem, and I don't think that's a problem. So I wouldn't accept that,
I think I'm going to marry Jenny. That's where I'm at.
And you will not refer to her as your wife, whatever you do.
No, I shall refer to her as
Miss Ryan.
My liege. My queen. Liege. I don't know. Let me know, Jenny. Just let me know, whatever. I'll figure it out. Is it me?
Yep.
It's you.
One more.
Oh, cool. Jodie Langridge has written in. She says, "Hi, Jason and Lucy. This episode is heartbreaking. Shane telling Rick, you want to take Daryl as your wingman? Be my guest. He knows their friendship can never go back to what it was, and he is so lost. I almost think he wanted to be put out of his misery. He truly can't live with it. At the very end, when he tells Rick, you've got a broken woman and a weak boy, he is just taunting him, and he just wants it over. Andrea being a dick when Rick asks her to watch Shane. Come on, Andrea, what is with the attitude? I'm trying to like you this go-round, but you are making it real hard. It is so interesting when you rewatch knowing what happens. Everything takes on a different meaning. When Shane gives Carl back Daryl's gun and says to him, you need to protect yourself, and this is the same gun Carl shoots him in the head with. One of my all-time favourite moments is when Daryl tells Rick, ain't no reason you should do all the heavy lifting. I loved it. He's basically saying, I'm part of the team and I'm here for you. I also love that they say they want to drive Randall out to Sonoya, just a tiny shout out to future backdrops. Then, of course, we have the scene in the hayloft between Rick and Carl. How could we know back then how important this conversation would be and how much meaning it takes on when we know what is going to happen in future? And the music, so great in these early seasons. How anyone ever believed that Randall got the better of Shane, I don't know. Daryl is on to him straight away. Rick also knew something was off, but he wanted to see where it would lead. The whole time they are walking through the woods together, the look on Rick's face and the soulful music. At this point, Shane already looks like a walker. When Rick asks Shane, does this way feel right? We know he isn't talking about the actual direction they are going. The acting is so good between these two. R.I.P. Shane Walsh. Did Shane rub his head every time he told a lie? Oh man, now I'm going to have to go back and watch again. Only on The Walking Dead would you give your son a speech about how everyone he loves is going to die before handing him a gun. Okay, now on to the Kabasi episode. Cheers, Jodie.
Good point.
P.S. Just a quick note on the last few weeks of in-depth debate as you're both interested in others' thoughts. In the episode when Laurie was whispering in Rick's ear, she actually said to him, you killed the living to protect what's yours. Shane thinks I'm his, he thinks the baby's his. I think that had a lot to do with how he speaks to Shane and his choice of words. I don't believe in any way that Rick sees Laurie as his property, but that he sees it as the only way of getting through to Shane, as Shane is the one who thinks that way. I can fully understand how people's life experiences can make them feel differently about this scene, and I wonder how they would have worded it if this was written today. Discussion is always great though, and I love how both of you can have strong feelings about a subject but still respect the other's opinions. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you, Jodie. That's
Jodie.
A lovely letter. Thanks.
You have a wonderful reading voice. I'm just letting you know. Like, it's very soothing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. I should do like one of those like sleepy time podcasts where I'm just like, no, I will read
it's
stories.
Relaxing. And usually when I listen to people read listener emails, I'm like, oh God, get to the end of it. I'm enraptured.
It's story time.
And Jason Can you tease something? I'm just curious if you can tease something for the next episode. Is there any element or moment or tidbit that you might reveal on the next episode that you haven't spoken to publicly before about your experience on the show?
Next episode, because the reason why I got to be a walker is because one of the listeners I became friends with, her name is Gracie Lou. She ended up being a podcaster for a while doing Under the Comic Covers. And she was plugged into the whole extra network out there, and she helped me get on it, and she's going to be guesting next week with me.
Awesome.
And we're going to talk about it and answer questions from listeners, and so I'm sure stuff will come up. It's going to be super fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right, we have one more call, and that's Owen from Leeds.
Owen.
Good morning. This is Owen in Leeds in England with a little bit of feedback for The Downfall of Shane, Season 2, Episode 12 of The Walking Dead. And just very quickly, if I may, for your thoughts on Daryl beating up Randall at the start of Episode 11, I'll be honest, I think it was justified. I think Randall was a little twat. And the way he described the group he was with, assaulting, shall we say, the young girls and the dad watching on, he was saying it in such a creepy way. When he's speaking to Carl later on, he's a creep. And in this episode with Shane saying, hey, you'll fit in. You know, it's like, nah, the guy's a dickhead and he deserved what he got. I feel no sympathy. Team Daryl. This episode, I love Shane throughout the whole episode. Just everything about it. The conniving, the hiding his gun, the cracking his nose and scraping it up and down a tree. You're like, fuck, crazy, man. And the finale, the moments with Rick where Rick lies to him. He tells him, you know, we can carry on, we can go again. And Shane, you know, he's lowering his weapon, he's accepting it. And then he stabs him. Rick murdered Shane. Shane didn't do nothing wrong. Shane saved Rick's wife and son. Shane saved their lives. You can say that they saved him, but no, he saved them. He was the true hero in the story. Rick comes back, spoils it all when they're playing Happy Families. You know, before Rick turned up, they're all living happily in the mountains. You know, if it wasn't for Rick, there wouldn't be car alarms blaring when Glenn comes back, which gradually brings walkers there, which leads to the downfall and the death of Amy and co, Jim and the gang. So technically, when you really think about it, Shane's the good guy and Rick screwed him over. So I just want to take this moment to spare a thought for Shane and let's just thank God that John Bernthal got the Punisher role and has done well with himself since. 3 cheers for Shane. Hip hip.
No.
No? Hope you well. Goodbye.
No.
Don't get bit.
Oh, Owen.
That's amazing.
I love it. Love it.
Rick's the villain. You heard it here.
Heard it here first.
Funny.
All right, that is our show, episode 584. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank you, Aaron. Great to have you on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hope you had a good time.
I did.
Once again, thehollywoodoutsiders.com, right?
TheHollywoodOutsider.com. Yep, The Hollywood Outsider and Inspired by a True Story.
Yeah, you can see Aaron's been a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend going out and checking his other stuff out.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Anytime. Just let me know anytime.
Next episode, Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 13, Beside the Dying Fire, a particular favorite of mine. As I mentioned earlier, Gracie Lou, who appeared on the show with me as a walker, will be guesting. And you might remember Gracie from Under the Comic Covers or Game of Microphones way back in the day. And so we'll be talking about the episode and just talking about what it was like to film it.
I'm so excited. If you want to write in or leave us a voice message about it, you can find all our contact information at podcastica.com. And I would suggest, if you have questions for the 2 actors, Jason and Gracie Lou, you could include those because they might be able to answer.
Yeah, but you got to hurry because I think we're when are we recording? Wednesday?
Thursday.
We might just have
Wednesday.
Yeah, so if
do it
you're
now.
hearing this,
Do it now. Do it now.
Tuesday,
Do it now.
Do it now, yeah.
Do it right now.
And while you're at podcastica.com, check out our other podcasts. I mean, I want to mention one that's not there yet, but that's coming up soon, and that's Lucy and Peter's podcast about the bear. What are you calling it?
We're going to call it Let It Rip.
Let It Rip.